everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today. We're at the World Anti-Extremism Network's inauguration, and I'm delighted to be able to have the chance to interview Sooma Aslami, who has the most fascinating story, which I'll let her share in just a moment. But she's a human rights activist that's worked previously with the United Nations mission to Afghanistan, and she's currently serves as the senior project manager for Journalists for Human Rights. And so I'm very delighted to have her here. And to start off,
Thank you.
As we were talking earlier, you gave me a little bit about your story, and it's just really fascinating. You were born in Afghanistan, but grew up in Iran, and then studied in India, and now live here in Canada. I'd love to hear your story, if you could just share a little bit about that and what eventually brought you here to Canada.
Yeah. As you know, my name is Sooma Aslami, and I'm originally from Herat province in western region of Afghanistan. I was born in Afghanistan, but I grew in Iran till I was, I think, 14. After that, due to the internal war in Afghanistan, and I think that was the end of period of 1998, we went to Turkmenistan. We emigrated there, and we were there for a few years till after the 11 September 2001, when the system changed in Afghanistan. We decided to go back to Afghanistan. I finished my high school in Afghanistan, and then I decided to go to India for my further education. Between 2007 and 2010, I was in India, but in 2010, I decided to go back to Afghanistan to serve for my country.
Okay.
I started working with different organizations, international organizations such as National Democratic Institute, Italian Embassy, MEC, and finally I reached to United Nations Assistant Mission for Afghanistan, and I served there for almost 7 years. Unfortunately, after the collapse of system in Afghanistan, we came here.
Okay, yeah. So could you tell us a little bit about what happened with the rise of the Taliban once again in Afghanistan? I've heard some stories, but everyone has such a different, powerful story. Could you tell me what happened for you?
Yes, first of all, I have to say that I never considered that Taliban were regaining the power, or back to the power. After 20 years, I think sacrifices and losing the life of thousands of soldiers in Afghanistan, spending billions of dollars in Afghanistan, I never think of that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that happened. And yes, with the collapse of the system in Afghanistan, the hope of a nation, specifically a young generation, was dashed overnight. On 15 August, I have received a call from my colleague, and he told me that there is a chaos in the city.
Okay.
And everyone rushed to the bank. I have to go to the bank and take my saving.
Interesting.
I decided to go with my husband, but on the way to the bank, he said that, yes, it was such a, I can say, terrified situation in Kabul. Everyone was running. I don't know where. But
were you able to get your funds from the bank?
No, actually.
No. Okay.
Actually, on the way to the bank, then I changed my mind, and we decided to go to the office at least to get some update about the situation, that what was happening and why there is a chaos in the city and people are just running. I went to the office and I met my boss, but unfortunately, I heard that we have to evacuate the camp as soon as possible. And that time, I was working with Alpha compound of United Nations that was in the center of city, and it was very close to my home. Then I decided to go to our other compound that is a little bit far from city in order to go to the bank and get my saving. I set up in a car with one of my colleagues, and unfortunately, due to a very heavy traffic, I think till U.S. Embassy that usually took around 15 minutes, it took more than 2 hours. All the road was, they were blocked and people were running. We stuck in the middle of the road For 15 minutes, I was in the car, and the different thoughts was coming to my mind. I thought that Taliban attacked to the city.
Okay.
Because in the last few days, we saw that Herat province collapsed, Mazar collapsed, and I think it was a very uncertain situation. I told my colleague, see, I think the Taliban attacked to the city. Let's drop off and go back home because we cannot go by car. All the roads were blocked. On the way back to the office, people were all coming toward the airport, and we had to go in the opposite direction. My home is located exactly behind the presidential office.
Okay.
And when I approached to the area that I have to pass the presidential office, I saw that Taliban gardening the area. It was a really, I cannot explain my feeling on that time when I saw Taliban. And as usual, I was wearing a very short coat with jeans.
Dang.
And when that moment, I think it took around 2 minutes when I passed from the area that Taliban was gardening. And I was looking at them, and they were looking at me. I could visibly see my heartbeat and my heart. I can't explain how hard was that situation. Finally, I passed the area. I started running to my home. When I reached home and I look at the news, unfortunately, I was shocked. The President Ghani, he fled out the country, and the Kabul was a kind of surrender to the Taliban. It was not collapse. It was not resistant. It was surrendered to the Taliban.
How did you feel?
I don't know. I was just looking at TV, and I said, for a moment, I don't know, all that years that I was working for my country, for the better situation, for bringing change, all years of my life is just.
How did you feel hearing that news that the government had just been surrendered, had just surrendered to the Taliban? It wasn't taken or anything.
Yeah, actually, President Ghani, till that day, he was committed. In the press also came that he said he would never leave the country. He would never leave alone his nation. And he's committed to his duty to protect Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
The news, actually, it was shocking for everyone. People didn't expect this from our president to leave the country like that without any prior informing, or at least do something for his people. He left, and he took with him a hope and desire of a nation, of a million people, especially the young generation, that they believed to him, they trusted him, that he would protect their rights, he will protect the democracy, he will protect a nation.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he didn't.
And you had done so much to help support Afghanistan's growth. You'd left, but you kept coming back. You kept coming back to your motherland to help save it. So it just must have felt like such a disappointment.
Just for a moment, I could see all years that I was in Afghanistan. For 11 years, I was working for my country to bring some changes. And I see that at the end of the day, it ruined all my, hard work. Not only me, but many people's, especially the young generation, that they stay in Afghanistan and they wanted to bring some changes, and they were fighting for their rights, for the development and prosperity of the country. But unfortunately, everything changed overnight.
So what did you do next? How did you leave? Did you leave right away, or was it
Actually,
difficult?
as I said, I didn't consider that the Taliban will come back to the power.
Yeah.
And it was not planned. Actually, the plan was that the peace process, because on that time there was a peace talk among Afghans, and the people, they were thinking that the Taliban will join the government, not they are gaining the power. This was, a wrong perception that we all had. That's why that I didn't have any preparation to leave the country, and everything happened suddenly, and I was so wondering what should I do. Few months ago, my in-laws, they were applying for Canadian visa, and I was in their application. After 15 August, I had to move to the newly apartment that I purchased just a year ago, because the situation was so uncertain and we didn't know that what will be the Taliban reaction, especially toward the people who are working with international organizations such as United Nations. The situation was really uncertain. And honestly, I have to say that I was so scared.
Yeah.
I was scared. And on 17 August, I decided to move to my new apartment that no one knows, the address. On 19, we have received an email from Canadian Embassy that our visa issued.
Amazing.
But the problem was the situation of Kabul airport on that time. Many people across the country, they all rushed to the airport. And it was a kind of impossible, to enter to the airport or you pass the gate. I tried a few times, but failed. I have a memory that one night I decided, we go to airport because we received an email from the Canadian Embassy that we have to go immediately to the airport. That was in North Gate. We decided to go and pass, and suddenly all the American and international soldiers, they came out and they started shooting because there was a rush and chaos in the airport. I was hit by a tear gas.
No.
And
From the US?
Yes, when they just threw the tear gas to
Just to calm people
to
down.
calm people. And one of those tear gas hit me. Oh my God! Still, I feel the sensation of burning in my body and my soul. How it hurts me. I had passport, I had visa, but the situation was in a way that I was not able, to pass the gate. Despite that, thousands of international soldiers, they were in the airport to protect and to control the situation. But unfortunately, the situation was out of control.
Okay.
Finally, I think in 20 August, I could pass the gate.
With your husband?
Yes, with my husband. We reached to Canadian Army, and on 21st, they transferred us to Canadian base. At the same
Still
day,
within Afghanistan?
yes, within Afghanistan, the Canadian base in Kabul airport. We moved there. The same night, we flew to Germany.
Okay.
And yes, after 2 hours, we were in Germany. There was a flight, and we transferred to Canada. I think 23rd August, I reached to Canada. And that day, yes, I was super tired. I was so dusty. I had to sleep, for 3 days I was in the airport, struggling to passing the gate. And yes, my situation was not good. The next day, when I wake up, I just make a glass of coffee for me, and I just stand in front of the window and look at outside. I came here I left behind everything. I just came with a backpack with 2 laptops and with my education, document. Even I didn't bring extra clothes for me because the situation was in a way that we were not able to bring even a suitcase with us.
Wow.
I just came with a backpack, and I look at outside, and I was thinking about, all those years, what I have built, what I have achieved, and now I just come with empty hand, and I have to start everything from scratch. It was the bad feeling, not because I lost, materialist things, but because I lost 11 years of my life working for my country, for my people, and at the end of the day, like, we didn't do anything. Taliban replaced by the Taliban, and the people, they just went back, period 2001.
And so now,
the situation.
yes, what is the situation now for women? Especially, I've heard that it's everything has changed for women in Afghanistan.
Exactly.
Can you give me an overview of what?
When the Taliban seized the power, the spokesperson of Taliban had an announcement that they are going to allow women to work, to education, and they are not going to violate the rights of the women and the people. But unfortunately, Taliban didn't change. Taliban were the same as they were ruling in 1996. After some time, they start banning women from going to a school, from working, from all their public activities, social, political, economic activities. They never consider women as a human being. And Taliban, they are not believed to any human rights, to any international law, to any convention. And that's the problem, that Taliban didn't change. Taliban, still they are the same. From the time that they seized the power is almost more than 2 years. The girls and the women, they are not allowed to go to a school. And this is a basic human rights for everyone, to have access to education. But unfortunately, Afghanistan is the only country in the world that the women, they don't have access to education.
That's horrible, so painful. So here, we're gathered here today for the inauguration of this new institute that's working to fight against this. And what is something that we can be doing? What is that?
Yeah.
What is your dream? What is the thing that you think would be the most effective thing that we can do to make a change, to change this situation?
Yeah, actually, we are here, but for me personally, my mind and my heart is in my country. And I feel responsible toward my people. For 2 years, actually, I was not very active in terms of, as a diaspora to fulfill my duty. But after 2 years, I decided we shouldn't keep quiet anymore. I know that there was lots of demonstration, lots of advocacy raised for Afghan women, but unfortunately didn't have any result. And still Taliban practicing the same. As a group of people, and this is our responsibility to work and advocate for them. We shouldn't keep quiet. We shouldn't give up. At least the only thing that we should do is to raising awareness and to find a solution, because we shouldn't just talk. We have to think about the solution, what we can do to bring changes to the Afghanistan, especially to the situation of Afghan women and girls.
Okay.
We all have responsibility toward our people. Although we are living here, we shouldn't forget that from which background we came here. That is our country, and that will be our country, and that people are our people, and we have to do something for them. I think we have to start working from here, at least to put pressure on the government, on the international community, to not recognize Taliban as a legitimate governance. This is the only thing right now we can do. And also we should continue our advocacy for Afghan women and Afghan girls to have access to their basic rights, such as education, such as working, such as healthcare. All is the basic rights of each human. And we shouldn't close our eyes to this reality that what Taliban is practicing currently in Afghanistan.
Thank you so much for your time here. Just one last thing, if anyone wants to get in contact with you or reach out and figure out ways to help, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yep, I have Facebook, and yes, they can contact me, and also through my email, aslamisuma@gmail.com. They can reach me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.